You lock eyes with someone across the flickering glow of a prehistoric campfire. There is no swiping right, no awkward first dates. And there are absolutely no romantic fairy tales. Just a brutal, subconscious calculation of survival, health, and genetics instantly playing out in your brain. For 99% of human history, choosing a partner was never about love. It was a strict, unforgiving biological equation. Today, modern dating is a billion-dollar industry. We spend countless hours scrolling through digital faces, agonizing over the perfect pickup line or profile picture. Yet, despite all our advanced matching algorithms and endless choices, roughly half of all modern marriages end in divorce. Why are we so bad at this? The brutal truth is that your brain is deeply confused. You are trying to navigate a complex modern dating world using Ice Age software. To understand why you are attracted to certain people, you have to completely erase everything society has taught you about romance and soulmates. Let us travel back roughly 300,000 years to the harsh, unforgiving savannas of the Paleolithic era. Survival here is a daily. You have no money, no social media status, and no designer clothes to impress anyone. The concept of wealth simply does not exist yet. In this ancient tribe, if you choose the wrong partner, you do not just get a broken heart. You and your offspring will literally die. Evolutionary psychologists like David Buss have spent decades analyzing these ancient mating strategies. They discovered when you look across that campfire, your brain is secretly acting like a ruthless supercomputer, scanning for vital clues of, but what exactly were you looking for? Modern movies will tell you it was the biggest, most aggressive alpha male who won all the mates. We picture a giant, violent caveman beating his chest and dragging a woman by her hair. But this popular Hollywood image is entirely wrong.
Help yourself.
Thank you, friend. To understand human attraction, you must look at our closest living relatives, chimpanzees. In a chimp society, this is called dominance. If an alpha chimp wants food or a mate, he simply beats up anyone smaller than him and takes it violently.
Oh.
For a long time, we assumed early human tribes worked exactly the same way. But a dominant bully in a human tribe faces a fatal problem. Humans invented deadly weapons. A sleeping bully can be easily eliminated by two weaker hunters holding sharp rocks. Anthropologist Joseph Henrich explains that humans developed a completely new way to gain status and attract mates. He calls this power. You cannot take prestige by force. It must be freely given to you by the rest of the tribe because of your immense value. You are the only one who knows how to craft a perfectly balanced spear that never misses its target. Or perhaps you have memorized the secret locations of hidden waterholes, keeping the entire camp alive during a brutal, months-long savanna drought. Brainpower suddenly became far sexier than raw muscle. Status belonged to the best hunters, the most skilled toolmakers, and even the best storytellers. For a prehistoric woman, choosing a mate was a high-stakes gamble. A violent, selfish alpha male was a massive liability, but a high-prestige partner was a safety net. He had the tribe's respect, meaning if you got sick, the community would still feed your children. This evolutionary shift completely rewired what humans found attractive. Kindness, cooperation, and intelligence became the. You aren't just looking for a partner. You are subconsciously scanning for an incredibly capable teammate who won't get you killed in the wilderness. But behavioral traits were only half the complex equation. Your brain was also evaluating deep biological compatibility without you ever realizing it. And it did this using a highly advanced, invisible sensory mechanism that you still use on every single date today. Your sense of smell. Today, we spend billions of dollars trying to hide our natural scent. We use deodorants, perfumes, and body washes to smell like artificial flowers. But 300,000 years ago, completely masking your body odor would have ruined your chances of ever finding a genetically compatible mate. Hidden in your DNA is a group of genes called the MHC. This complex is the vital blueprint for your entire immune system. To give your children the absolute best chance of surviving prehistoric diseases, they need a highly diverse immune system. This means you must mate with someone whose MHC genes are completely different from yours. But how do you check someone's genes before microscopes? In 1995, Swiss biologist Klaus Wedekind conducted a famous and slightly gross experiment known as the sweaty t-shirt study. He asked men to wear the same t-shirt for 2 days straight without using deodorant. Then, he asked women to smell these extremely dirty shirts. The results were mind-blowing. Women consistently rated the smell of a man's sweat as pleasant or sexy if his immune genes were radically different from hers. But if the man had a similar immune system, the women found his body odor absolutely repulsive. It is an evolutionary mechanism to prevent incest. So, when you are sitting around that prehistoric campfire, your brain isn't just looking at their muscles. Your nose is running a full genetic background check. This means that today, by constantly covering ourselves in artificial colognes and heavy perfumes, we are literally blinding our own evolutionary dating radar. Even crazier, studies suggest that modern hormonal birth control pills actually reverse this preference, making women biologically attractive. Our ancient brain is completely overwhelmed. It is trying to solve a 300,000-year-old biological equation, but we keep hiding all the essential data. In the Stone Age, there were no fake profiles or filtered photos. Your scent, your skills, and your reputation
We're the ultimate lie detector.
Once you passed the harsh genetic and social background check, how did you actually start dating? Well, it usually started with a meal. In the modern world, a classic first date usually involves paying for a fancy dinner. But in the Stone Age, food meant something entirely different. Back then, there were no grocery stores or refrigerators. Every single calorie had to be bled for, tracked down, and fought over in the dirt. Imagine you have just spent 2 grueling days tracking a small deer or gathering a rare, incredibly sweet honeycomb. You are absolutely starving. Your basic survival instinct screams at you to eat everything immediately. But instead, you carry this precious, life-saving treasure all the way back to camp. You walk straight past the fire and hand the most calorie-dense food you found directly to the person you want to mate with.
Wow. Oh my gosh,
This was not a romantic gesture. It was a profound, undeniable proof of your worth. You were proving that you could successfully provide. Sitting in the dirt and sharing those hard-earned calories was the ultimate prehistoric date. Food was the very first love language ever spoken. But a single meal was never enough. To truly secure a mate, you had to prove you could do this consistently, day after day. Most mammals in the wild simply mate and immediately abandon each other. The male leaves, and the female raises the offspring entirely alone. But human evolution took a bizarre turn. We developed a highly unusual strategy called pair bonding, where 2 partners stay together for years. Why would our ancestors lock themselves into these long-term survival contracts? Why not just spread their genes as widely and quickly as possible? The answer lies in a terrifying biological crisis. The human body was undergoing a radical transformation that made raising a child incredibly dangerous. When our ancestors started walking upright on 2 legs, our pelvises became much narrower. At the exact same time, this created a massive evolutionary bottleneck. Human babies had to be born prematurely just to fit through the birth canal, rendering them completely helpless.
You are not getting to him.
He's safe as long as we have this. Unlike a horse that can run immediately, a human baby takes years just to learn how to walk and eat. It is a massive burden. For a prehistoric hunter, staying tied to one partner and a crying infant restricts your freedom. It actively prevents you from finding other mates. Your logical survival instinct might tell you to just walk away into the savannah and let the tribe deal with the exhausting, noisy problem. But if every father simply walked away, the entire human species would have gone extinct. Evolution needed a powerful invisible chain to trap you. Biological anthropologist Helen Fisher has spent her career studying this exact trap. She discovered that nature invented a brilliant. Instead of using physical chains, your ancient brain suddenly floods your entire nervous system with a highly intoxicating cocktail of massive spikes of dopamine and oxytocin rush through your blood. It is essentially the exact same chemical reaction as a severe drug addiction. You suddenly feel a euphoric obsession with this specific person across the fire. Your heart races, your palms sweat, and you cannot look away. Today, poets and songwriters call this beautiful, magical feeling falling in love. You truly believe it is death, but the cold scientific truth is that romantic love is just a rigid survival contract, meticulously designed to keep you from running away. This chemical cocktail temporarily shuts down your brain's critical thinking centers. It makes you completely, happily blind to your new partner's annoying flaws. It also gives you severe tunnel vision, ensuring you completely ignore all the other highly attractive, healthy mates walking around the prehistoric camp. This intense, obsessive focus forces both of you to stay together, working as a synchronized team to protect that helpless infant from predators. But here is the most fascinating part of Helen Fisher's research. This intense, intoxicating phase of romantic love does not actually last forever. It is biologically programmed to fade after about 4 years. which is the exact amount of time a prehistoric toddler. To understand why we date the way we do, look at other primates. Female chimpanzees loudly and physically announce exactly when they are fertile. Because the male chimp knows exactly when she can get pregnant, he only stays around for a few days and then abandons her completely. But human females evolved a brilliant, highly deceptive biological weapon to force you to stay. It is called concealed ovulation. This means that the female body completely hides all outward physical signs of its reproductive cycle. It becomes a total biological mystery. But I need to go hunt.
You cannot pass.
Why not? But because a human infant takes years to grow, the mother absolutely needs a dedicated partner to bring her calories every single day. This creates a biological dilemma for you as a male. You desperately want to pass on your genes, but you have no clue when. Your only successful evolutionary strategy is to stay close to her constantly. You cannot wander off, or you might miss the hidden window. So you stay. You bring her a piece of meat on Monday. You gather wild berries for her on Wednesday. You share everything. You sleep next to her. You stand guard when predators approach the camp. You spend an immense amount of time just interacting. And because you are constantly near each other, your brains continuously pump out oxytocin, the bonding hormone. The emotional connection. This brilliant evolutionary trick essentially forced humanity into pair bonding. It transformed a brief mating instinct into a... It is exactly why humans, unlike nearly any other animal on Earth, engage in intimate dating activities 365 days a year. However, this intense pair bonding created a massive new psychological problem. If you leave the camp to hunt, someone else might steal your partner. To protect your precious genetic investment, evolution had to invent a dark, painful, and violent emotional alarm system. We call it jealousy. You feel a sharp, burning pang in your chest when you see someone overly flirting with your partner at a modern dinner party. Today, popular culture and dating advice columns tell us that jealousy is a toxic, insecure flaw, a sign that you are emotionally broken. But evolutionary psychologist David Buss completely disagrees. His extensive research reveals that human jealousy is... In a newly pair-bonded society, infidelity wasn't just a betrayal of trust. It had... Imagine you are a prehistoric male. You leave your warm cave and spend 3 grueling days risking your life to hunt dangerous megafauna in the cold. While you are gone, a sneaky rival male from the tribe approaches your partner. If they mate, you face the ultimate evolutionary nightmare. You could end up spending the next 10 years exhausting your body to feed and protect a child that carries absolutely 0 of your genes. To prevent this genetic dead end, the male brain developed severe sexual jealousy, a hypervigilant biological... But prehistoric women faced a completely different evolutionary nightmare. Because she physically gives birth, a mother never has to doubt if the child is hers. Her ultimate nightmare was losing the precious daily calories that kept her and her baby alive. If her male partner formed a deep, romantic, emotional connection with a different female in the tribe,
His loyalties would eventually shift entirely.
he would begin secretly taking his hard-earned hunted meat and warm winter furs to the other family, leaving his first partner completely abandoned. Without his consistent supply of calories and protection, both she and her completely helpless infant would likely freeze or starve during a harsh winter. To combat this, the female brain evolved a fierce emotional jealousy, an internal radar specifically designed to detect whether it was sexual or emotional. That agonizing pain in your chest was specifically engineered to forcefully keep your prehistoric survival team perfectly intact. For 300,000 years, this complex biological system worked flawlessly. But today, it is spectacular. Evolutionary anthropologist Robin Dunbar discovered that the human brain is strictly hardwired to handle a social network of only about 150 people. In an ancient hunter-gatherer tribe, your actual dating pool consisted of maybe 10 to 15 people. You knew their family, you smelled their genetic makeup, and you saw their survival skills firsthand. Choosing a partner was slow and deeply informed. Now, open a modern dating app. Within 10 minutes of swiping, you expose your brain to more potential mates than your ancestors saw in a lifetime. Your ancient hunter-gatherer brain simply cannot process this massive volume of data. It completely short-circuits under the crushing weight of endless options. Scientists call this an evolutionary mismatch. You are desperately trying to run complex modern social software on hardware built entirely for the Ice Age. First, the digital screen completely strips away your most vital survival metric. You cannot smell a person's MHC immune genes through a glass screen. Without real-world prestige or survival skills to evaluate, your brain panics and defaults to shallow visual cues. This creates the dangerous illusion of infinite choice. Because the next face is just a swipe away, you become hypercritical of the tiny. This leads directly to the paradox of choice. When your primitive brain is presented with 10,000 options, it becomes paralyzed and chooses absolutely nobody. It also explains why modern ghosting is so incredibly easy. To your brain, a digital profile isn't a real breathing human from your survival tribe. But when you get rejected or ignored on an app, it hurts deeply. Why? Because the brain processes social rejection exactly like literal physical pain. In the Paleolithic era, being ignored or banished from the tribe meant certain death. Your body still reacts to a digital left swipe. We have built a futuristic dating world that completely ignores every single biological rule our bodies spent hundreds of thousands of years perfectly adapting to. So, if the modern digital dating world is essentially a massive biological trap, how do you actually fix it? You cannot suddenly change 300,000 years of hardwired evolutionary programming, but you can intentionally hack your own ancient hardware. First, you must step out of the infinite digital loop. Your brain absolutely needs physical, real-world data to evaluate a potential mate. You have to meet in person, as quickly as possible, to let your subconscious immune system perform that vital MHC smell test. Second, you must intentionally shrink your dating pool. Stop chasing thousands of strangers and respect Robin Dunbar's strict evolutionary limit. Focus on people within your established community or social circles, where trust and reputation have already been verified by others. Third, completely change how you interact. Staring directly at each other across a coffee table feels like a hostile predator interview to your nervous system. Instead, engage in cooperative activities. Cooking together or hiking side by side mimics ancient survival. Finally, you must accept the cold scientific truth about the biological expiration date of intense romantic love. It is not meant to last. When that intoxicating, obsessive chemical high inevitably fades after a few years, it does not mean your relationship has failed or grown boring. It simply means the biological trick has successfully finished its job. The most vulnerable, helpless infant stage has safely passed. What remains after those initial dizzying chemicals clear is what true prehistoric pair bonding was always meant to be from the very beginning. A deeply forged, unshakable partnership built entirely on mutual survival, unwavering trust, and a shared history. Love is not a magical fairy tale written in the stars. It is the most brilliant, successful survival mechanism our species ever created. And that primitive, terrifyingly beautiful ancient programming is still beating loudly inside your chest right now, guiding every single choice you make. Once you fully realize that your brain is just a primitive survival machine, you can finally stop blaming yourself for modern dating failures. You can intentionally step away from the digital slot machines and start looking for a genuine teammate instead of a perfect profile picture. Focus on finding someone whose natural scent immediately calms your nervous system, proving that your complex immune genes are a perfect complementary match. Look for someone who consistently demonstrates real prestige in your community through genuine kindness and skill, rather than just loud talk. And most importantly, remember that the dizzying, obsessive high of early romance is nothing but a temporary chemical trick to guarantee infant survival. When that initial intense chemical spark inevitably begins to slowly fade, do not panic. Your relationship is not necessary. Your ancient brain is simply transitioning into the next vital stage of human pair bonding. A deeply stable, cooperative. This deep companionship is exactly what kept our fragile ancestors from going extinct during the most brutal, unforgiving winters of. So the next time you feel completely overwhelmed by the chaotic, lonely, and frustrating world of modern digital dating, take a breath. Put the glowing glass screen down, step outside into the physical world, and try to remember exactly where your ancient biology came from. You are the final, completely victorious result of 300,000 years of ruthless survival, deep cooperation. You lock eyes with someone across the flickering glow of a prehistoric campfire. There is no swiping right, no awkward first dates, and there are absolutely no romantic fairy tales. Just a brutal, subconscious calculation of survival, health, and genetics instantly playing out in your brain. For 99% of human history, choosing a partner was never about finding your magical soulmate or living happily ever after.
It was a strict biological equation.
But today, understanding that ancient equation is the only way you will ever find true love.